Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for October the 10th. Your readings today find you in Jeremiah chapter 16, starting in verse 16, going all the way through the end of chapter 18. And then you're reading 1 Thessalonians 4 and 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 1 through 3. You're also reading Psalm 81, 1 through 16, and Proverbs chapter 25, 6 through 8. So, it's really easy for us to look at the things that we see going on around the world, and if you're a follower of Christ, think about the end times and what's going to happen and what's going to happen at the end here, and really truly we can become pretty obsessed by it. As someone who was around in the 90s, I remember when the Left Behind series came out, and that just was a huge thing. I mean, those were like being snatched up left and right. People were reading those things, and it really kind of created a new fervor for end times. And I have met people over the years that have really genuinely, truly obsessed with the end times. And I think in some ways we've misconstrued the idea of the end times because we read Revelation and we get stuck nitpicking and stuck trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen, not realizing that Revelation is actually supposed to be a book of hope. It's not supposed to be a book of dread or of beware. It's supposed to be a book of hope to show us and reassure us that God will return, and when Jesus physically does come back, he's going to usher in the new kingdom, the eternal kingdom. And Paul kind of talks about some of these end time things in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, which is the reason why I bring them up. And Paul's trying to actually provide a word of hope. He's trying to provide something of hope to these people because apparently the Thessalonians have become a little worried about it, and they've started obsessing about the end times. What we can extrapolate here, first of all, is they're worried about what happened to their loved ones. What's going to go on here? And so Paul tries to reassure them, saying that all of us who have fallen asleep, been dead, are going to rise up, and we will be caught in the air together with them and meet the Lord in the air, so we will always be with the Lord. Which, for the record, that is where we get the idea of the rapture from, is from these verses, when we're going to all be just caught up in the air. This, and then another part where Paul talks about how, when we walk in another will disappear. So we get the idea of the rapture from these things, but we can't read too much into them, because then we go back and we look at the discourse, the Olivet discourse that Jesus gave in the Gospels, and you hear about the end times that are happening there, and you start looking at that and you go, well, we got all of these signs. That's going to happen any day now. Well, it might, but Paul gives us a warning as well. Concerning the times and the seasons, brother, this is 1 Thessalonians 5, you have no need to have anything written to you, for you yourselves are fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. In other words, we can try to read the tea leaves all we want. We can try to figure out the signs of where the end times are, and we're not going to. They're going to come. They're going to come when we just don't expect it. They're going to come at a time when perhaps we thought we were ready and maybe we weren't, or perhaps whatever. But that's not the point of how we're supposed to live. And Paul is trying to make sure that we don't get so obsessed with this idea that we fall away from taking care of our daily responsibilities. Our responsibilities to carry out the gospel of Jesus. What it should do for us is give us an urgency to accomplish those goals and those ideas, not to shelter down, hunker down, to create all these things. We really don't know what the end times are going to fully look like. We get a glimpse of it, but we get a glimpse of it from people that are trying to put into words something that absolutely is super huge, massive, and in many ways beyond comprehension. It's like reading some of the prophecies of Ezekiel that we'll get into, and you look at it and go, I don't know what in the world he's talking about here. Yeah, we're going to get into some of those mind-blowing things. But Paul is trying to reassure us that the day of the Lord is going to come, but it doesn't come when we expect it. It comes whenever God says it's time. It comes in the midst of other things. And while that's happening, we need to make sure that we are living our life to the full for the glory of God. Apparently, the Thessalonians were kind of selling things, getting rid of things. They were no longer being contributing because they were just going to sit and wait for God, which sounds like a great idea until you realize that you really don't know when that's going to happen. So our what we should take from this, our admonition, our edification, is that we should expect God to come at any time. But as a result of that, we should make sure that we are doing everything we can to advance the gospel in the last moments that we have until Jesus comes back. All right, there's our word for the day. We'll talk more next time.